Probably all high school. So
All right, we will
just
go ahead and
sitting back
start the
and
meeting.
pledges.
Start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will seek a motion for the consent agenda.
I move approval of consent agenda.
Motion by Moulton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rossman. We will seek any questions or comments on any of the items listed there, 2.1 through 2.4. Otherwise, we will receive our financial report from Heidi.
All right, thank you. The general fund revenue of $2.4 million consisted of a small amount of tax proceeds, state aid, and federal dollars. The federal dollars were associated with expenditures that occurred in fiscal year 2023. The expenditures exceeded the revenue during the month as typical, and the fund's ending cash position of $7.6 million reflects an increase when compared to the prior year. Capital outlay ended the month with a $3.3 million cash balance, with expenditures exceeding revenue for the month as typical. In the fund of special education, the $612,000 in revenue included a small amount of tax proceeds, the monthly state aid payment, and federal revenue. The federal revenue was in the form of 611, 619 funds for the costs that occurred in the 2023 fiscal year. This fund's ending cash position of $1.6 million reflects improvement over the prior years. Activity has increased in the K-12 nutrition fund with the start of school. The income and expenditures of $50,000 were similar for the month. LATC received $3.5 million in revenue that exceeded the expenditures due to the receipt of the first semester tuition and student fees. This fund's ending cash position of $7.4 million reflects a planned decrease over the previous 2 years, with notation as well that a foundation contribution of $3 million for construction in progress is also expected in September. The enterprise fund operations consisted of well over $600,000 in activity for the month, with funds breaking even and well operating at successful rates. The activity in the areas of student financial aid continues to be very high due to the enrollment at LATC. August activity was in excess of $4.7 million. The premiums were exceeded by the claims and administrative costs in the Employee Benefit Trust during the month. The ending cash position of $4.2 million reflects a decline. Premiums will increase with September payroll to assist in offsetting increased claim costs. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer any.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Okay, we'll move to item 3.1, public input on agenda or non-agenda items for LATC.
I think we need to approve the motion, point of order.
That would be a really good thing to do. So we have our motion and our second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Jean. Appreciate it. Now we'll see if anybody's here to speak on agenda or non-agenda items for Lake Erie Tech. Seeing none, all right. Welcome, President Sanderson.
Good evening, everybody. I've got a couple of updates to share with you, and then we'll get into the business of personnel and property. Derek's going to bring up a PowerPoint for you, and as he does that, I would invite all of you to join us for the joint session, annual joint session with the Strategic Advisory Council for Lake Erie Tech. That is scheduled for Thursday, November 2nd from noon to 2 p.m. on our campus. We'll meet on 4th floor, and that will be an open meeting with the Strategic Advisory Council, so invite the public to join us if they would like to do so. For those who aren't familiar with our SAC, or Strategic Advisory Council, it's a group of business and community leaders that help us think big picture about Lake Erie and our future, help us keep on track around our performance metrics. John sits on that group and appreciate his insights around the table. Since 2017, I'll give you a little preview of what we'll be talking about November 2nd. Since 2017, the State Board of Technical Education has been getting their arms around the technical college system as they have stood up on their own, and they're at a point now where they're setting system priorities for the 4 technical colleges in the state. And the 3 major system priorities that they're setting are around attainment, which is really focused on increasing the number of graduates produced out of the technical college system. So attainment's number one, affordability is number two, and that pertains both to what's the total price tag for a technical college degree and what is the return on investment for our graduates, meaning are they able to make good on their investment in a Lake Area Tech degree or other degree from the technical college system in quick order, so they have benefit spending that time out of the workforce. The third system priority is around alignment. So continuing to ensure that we're listening to our business and industry partners, matching our programs and curriculum up to what needs are in the workforce. And also for students who are interested in transitioning onto college programs, four-year college programs after Lake Area Tech that are, for example, nursing programs are in alignment with four-year nursing programs as well. So those three system priorities will be the focus of the conversation November 2nd, and really boiling down to what does Lake Area Tech's path look like over the coming years around those three areas. So it should be a very good discussion. So November 2nd, noon to 2 p.m. Mr. President, I'll pause for any questions if anybody has them around the strategic advisory.
I think, is there a tour of some of the new construction prior to that?
Yes, if anybody would like to join us for a quick tour through both the diesel expansion or the archway, we'll be able to take a small group into those areas. That tour is going to start at 11 a.m. and we'll meet in the lobby of the Student Center. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, no further questions. Let's shift gears into what happened on campus over the summertime and where we're at for this fall. So if you'd like to check out the screen behind you, what Derek's bringing up are some pictures of activities that happened on campus over the summertime. I got a lot of questions from the public about, oh, it's summertime, it must be pretty quiet on campus. My routine answer was an emphatic no. We had a lot happening on campus, and I'll give you some of the highlights here. So some of our work was mission-driven, degree-seeking programs, and others was around career awareness for middle school and high school students, and then our corporate education arm was very busy working with business and industry partners. So what you see on the screen are examples of some of the 7 camps for middle school and high school students. We had about 385 students who learned about drones, diesel program, explored career options while they were on campus. We had more than 100 families and students on campus over the 3 months to tour facilities and look at program options at Lake Area. There were 700 new Lake Area students who attended one of 6 orientation sessions. There were 2 major industry trainings, and you'll see both of those on the screen. One was the State Fire School. They were here in June, and then the other was the South Dakota Ag Summit, Governor's Ag Summit. That was in July. And between those 2 events, we had 650 people on campus. And then there were 8 corporate education trainings that served 120 people from 33 different businesses. So that's everything from training in sales to soldering to QuickBooks and customer service, dental radiology, CPR, and pro board certification in firefighting. So a big variety of training that happened through corporate education. We also added 6 registered apprenticeship programs with business partners over the summer, and they represent certified nursing assistants, commercial driver's licensing, and welding. So that was everything beyond the scope of our normal degree-seeking work. We had 618 degree-seeking students who were taking classes over the summer. 65% of those students were in healthcare programs, primarily in nursing, or in business and finance programs. The balance of 35% of those enrollments were across campus in other program areas. So it was a hop in place over the summer, and that's the way that we like it. So I'll have you, Derek, fast forward in the slide deck here to where we're at this fall as we start our 4th week of school. Enrollments remain very strong in the Tech College system and at Lake Area Tech. As I mentioned, one of the priorities that the state board has right now is around attainment, and that's shifting our conversation from the traditional how many students are enrolled on campuses to how many students are graduating out of the system to serve South Dakota businesses. So how are we as a tech college helping to meet the demands of our workforce and our business and industry partners? So you'll continue to hear me talking more and more about what we're doing to support completions and produce graduates. enrollments obviously is an input into that outcome of the system. But on the screen you'll see, as we're starting here this fall, we have 9 programs out of our 31 that are at 97% or more capacity. So these are programs that are limited now by space or number of faculty. So as we go forward, these are areas we'll be focusing to figure out how do we continue to expand opportunity. And then our other programs that aren't at this level of capacity maxing, we'll be looking at how do we continue to invite students in to be part of our degree programs. As you see on the screen, surgical technology, which is one of our 2 new programs this fall, is at capacity and full. Heavy equipment operator, our registered nursing program, automotive, cosmetology, welding, our business program, diesel, and our professional fixed wing pilot program are all running very full this fall. So kudos to all of those programs for welcoming students at the level they have. In some cases, they are over capacity and welcoming more than they normally would. A point of interest for the group is the diesel program crossed over 200 students enrolled as we open the new diesel expansion facility for the John Deere Tech Knowledge program. So that's exciting to see. Just a few more points, and Derek will have you go on to the next slide. If you look at our 10-year enrollment over time, if you squint real hard from the back of the room, you can see a differentiation between gray and blue in that chart. The numbers will guide you. The top numbers are our dual enrollment or dual status students, and the numbers on the bottom are our degree-seeking students. So all in all, continue to be strong in the last 5-6 years, fairly level enrollments at Lake Area Tech. Some points of interest. Let's start with dual credit. 459 students are enrolled in at least one dual credit class right now. 300 of them, 301, are taking classes at Lake Area Tech, so are physically coming to our campus. 8 of those students are full-time students at Lake Area Tech. 3 of them are on track to earn their AAS this May prior to graduating from high school. So dual credit program and options continue to be a very strong option for our high school students in the area. For our degree-seeking students, 81% of that 1710 are full-time students. The remaining 19% are taking classes part-time. 13% of our student body for degree-seeking students are online students. As you think about the current environment, really low unemployment, strong wages in the market, there are a couple of high-level impacts that are worth talking about. One is our Lake Area Tech faculty continue to offer very high-quality programs, and that's why you see strong enrollment numbers, 9 of our programs at capacity this year. And there's a strong return on investment for students. We'll talk more in depth about that when we get together in November. Across the country, over the last 6 years, we're not seeing the trends that we see on the screen. The numbers of students enrolling in 2-year colleges across the country continues to dwindle, and we've remained strong through that time. So huge kudos to our faculty and our staff for providing really top-notch programs. Second factor is low unemployment rates in the state and really strong wages for hourly positions mean that many of our prospective students are choosing to go right to work and get training on the job. And that environment has its pros and cons for businesses and for individuals. In the short term, businesses are able to fill more positions. Young people are able to get strong wages coming out of college. We will be ready and waiting for them when the point in life comes where they're ready to take the next step in their career. Again, seeing a lot of downturns across the country, and I feel very proud of Lake Area Tech for where we're at this point. As we look ahead a year from now, the Archway building will be open. That will allow us to expand in manufacturing programs and in business and in finance. You'll recall that business is one of our programs that's running at capacity right now. That will open up existing campus resources that we can repurpose to expand in other areas. For example, the registered nursing program is at capacity right now. Students are interested in the program, there's a wait list, and so we'll be able to expand the nursing program. Our surgical technology program that just started, the first year is full. We'll be able to add the second year in and use our campus facilities in new ways. So looking forward to all of that. Again, we'll go into much greater depth November 2nd when we get together with the Strategic Advisory Council. But I'll pause for right now if you have any questions or thoughts on what I've shared with you tonight.
Just a comment, I mean, it'll be exciting to look at this 20-year chart 10 years from now with all the growth in the buildings going up. It'd be exciting. Okay. Anything else on that? All right, well, we will, thank you for the report, appreciate it. We will move into personnel with 4.11 and resignations, please.
Very good. No resignations for the board's consideration.
Excellent. 4.1.2, contract recommendations and addendums.
Very good. I'm looking off of the blue sheet with the updates, with a couple of additions for today. All of the sections on this sheet have to do with either contracts that are new for full-time staff or addendums to existing contracts. So I'll walk you through the major sections. Under contract recommendations addendum, there are 3 full-time permanent staff listed at the top of the list there. The remainder are part-time positions or workers. They are faculty who helped out with our new faculty training, either as mentor teachers or new faculty, or they helped with the Dakota Dreams Middle School camp that was on campus over the summer outside of their normal contract time. So that's the first section that you see on the blue sheet. The second section is adjunct instructors for our fall classes. We will come back in October with additional adjunct and overload staff as those all get finalized here in the coming weeks. And then at the very bottom of the blue sheet, or on the start of the second page, are the temporary part-time positions. All of them listed in this section are hourly workers who come in as needed and are paid that hourly rate to help out with things like labs and skills checks in med-fire rescue as an example. And then finally, corporate education. There are 3 contracts listed there for instructors in corporate education classes that have been scheduled. Mr. President, I will stand by for any questions that you have and recommend your approval as presented.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve 4.1.2.
Motion by Rossman,
Second.
second by Lohr. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Move to item 4.2.1 with the consideration of a land lease agreement.
Very good. 4.2.1 is an agreement between Lake Area Tech and Dunnick Incorporated for land on the east side of town. They have agreed to allow our heavy equipment operator students to use a portion of their land for training purposes. So appreciate your support of that agreement and recommend approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the Dunnick lease agreement as presented.
Motion by Moulton.
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Item 4.2.2.
In your packet, you will find a variety of equipment leases at no cost or very low cost for instruction in our program objectives for heavy equipment operator and for the diesel program. Those leases are with TransSource, Peterson Motor Rentals, Interstate Power Systems, Bobcat, Stan Houston, and John Deere, and appreciate those partners making this equipment available for our students at a very, very reasonable cost, so those programs can continue to be affordable for our students.
Item 4, is there a motion to approve the recommendation, the item 4.2.2?
So moved.
Motion by Iverson, is there a second?
Second.
A second by Moulton. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. We'll move to item 4.2.3.
Last month, the board gave us authority to bid on some equipment for our precision machining program under the Governor's Office of Economic Development equipment grants that we received in 2023. Bids came back for the manual mills and lathes under budget at $83,069 and recommend your approval of that item.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the bid from Productivity, is that correct?
Yes.
Motion by Moulton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Move to item 4.2.4.
This was also an authority to bid approval from last month, so we're following up on that for the CNC Turning Center. This is also part of the precision machining program. Northwest Machine submitted the lowest bid under budget at $130,066, and recommend your approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Iverson.
Second.
Second by Moulton. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 4.2.4 has been approved. Item 4.2.5.
Thank you. Last month, the board approved that we could surplus for sale one of the outdated airplanes in our fleet, the twin-engine Comanche airplane, and Russell McLean from Lancaster, Kansas was the highest bid for sale at $72,635.28. Recommend your approval.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the bid for the twin-engine airplane as presented.
Is there, motion by Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's been approved. Item 4.2.6.
Last month when we did the authority to bid, we had a couple of pieces of equipment that we bid in our diesel program. No bids were received, so we're seeking your authority to make a purchase for a diesel engine not to exceed $80,000. The cost of that engine will be covered by the equipment funds we receive from the Governor's Office of Economic Development.
Is there a motion to approve?
I will move that we purchase this diesel engine.
Motion by Iverson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Item 4.2.7.
Similar to the engines, we went out to bid for hydraulic trainers in the diesel program, received no bids, and so we're seeking your approval to move forward with a purchase of 5 hydraulic trainers with the diesel program. And you can see that the hydraulic trainer, the one-sided, will not exceed $110,000, and then the double-sided, 4 of those would not exceed $275,000, again covered with the Governor's Office of Economic Development's equipment grant.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the authority to purchase hydraulic trainers as presented.
Motion by Moulton.
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions or comments?
Mr. President, a point of clarification. I said the GOED equipment grant, that would actually be through the federal Perkins grant for that purchase.
Okay. With that noted, we have our motion and our second. Is there all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Item 4.2.8.
Thank you. We're recommending to the board that we purchase from the Human Service Agency the property located at 123 19th Street Northeast for $310,000. HSA approached us about purchasing this property, which is adjacent to our current facilities, the lab and the diesel building on campus, and we believe that owning this property adjacent to our current facilities positions us well for the future as we go forward. So recommend your approval of that purchase agreement.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the purchase agreement of the Gilbert property.
Motion by Iverson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Just a point of thanks to the Human Service Agency for partnering with us on this transaction. It's great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is approved.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will move to item 5.1. If there's anyone here to speak on public input for agenda or non-agenda items for the district. Okay, item 5.2 with the Northeast Tech report.
Thank you. The Northeast Tech Board of Superintendents will be meeting tomorrow morning. So nothing to report as of yet. We have not met since school started, but sounds like Northeast Tech is off to a good start too, as well as the Watertown School District. And then for those board members who are on the Northeast Tech Board, that reminder is next Wednesday, the 20th at 5:45.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 5.3 with the Phase 2 Athletic Complex. I think we have a guest here to speak on that. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Yes, Derek, thank you. Good?
Oh, yeah, yep.
All right, well, thank you all very much for giving me some time to talk here. Basically, I'm here to give an update on the athletic complex phase 2, the version that we had bid last summer in June, and sort of the direction that things have taken as we've kind of had some meetings and kind of went through a little value engineering exercise and talked about things and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to just kind of talk through the pictures up here on the slide, and I'll start with just kind of a generic overview of the complex and kind of where we were at. So if you remember the plan here, basically we are creating our gateway. You can kind of see there where it says Northeast 3rd Avenue there. That's kind of the entry point into the complex right there. That's where the gateway piece will be. That's where it was in the previous version as well. So that's all pretty much the same, very similar. We've changed the concept design of it a little bit, but that's all very, very similar. The procession to the grandstands itself, kind of up that long white space there, that's a concrete walkway, kind of ramps up to a plaza area, and then underneath the grandstand. That has also stayed very, very similar to the original concept. So that procession, as you kind of walk up and enter the grandstands, is all very, very similar. We did kind of look at a few ways to reduce some of the scope and some of the cost, and one of the major pieces for this was the reduction of the building that was previously underneath the grandstands. So as you kind of walk under there, you can see where it says elevator. That is the elevator up to the press box. That has stayed the same. That is still there, but to the left of that, there was a concessions and restrooms building in the previous version, and that is now gone. We've kind of made the decision to relocate that all into the field house component on the south side of the building, which we'll get into here in just a minute as we talk about the floor plan a little bit. But that was, to save on some utility costs, lots of underground costs to get stuff over there, condense our plumbing costs, a lot of those things that had kind of stretched a little bit with the two buildings located, around 300 feet apart. So we can realize a little bit of savings there by kind of combining that together. Outside of that, obviously there were some sort of building components and some of the metal panel assemblies and screening and things like that we had that we've kind of trimmed in the scope as well. And we'll see those in the renderings as we move forward here. And we can talk about those at that point. But overall, it's very, very similar to the concept that we saw previously. This looks very, very similar. Any questions before I have you move into the plans themselves? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll ask my question now. So, I'm sorry if I missed it, but along the bottom side here, there will be no bathrooms. All the bathrooms will be in the field
All the
house.
bathrooms will be located on the south side of the facility. Yep, right in there in the field house building. So those have actually grown a little bit from the previous version, obviously to accommodate some of the plumbing counts and things like that we needed to do, but it consolidated them into one space, so we don't have to try to get plumbing that far into the camp or into the building to serve those facilities. So we should see a decent amount of cost savings from that. And in reality, it's actually very similar to a lot of other facilities in South Dakota, a lot of other high school facilities. Like if you go to Swisher Field in Aberdeen, their restrooms are off to the north side. Brandon in the Lynx, theirs it's kind of right in where the plaza area here is, kind of right where the gateway would be, kind of off on the side there. So it's a fairly common location for the restrooms and concessions and that sort of stuff.
What's this building over on the left?
That is a storage building,
Okay.
and we have basically a concrete pad called
Okay.
out for this, and that is actually outside of the scope of the project, which is being done. Yeah, I think with
Future planning,
like
right?
LTC or something. Yep. But yeah, basically it's right now it's
Okay.
just a grassy area, and it will turn into a rock bed, the concrete slab for potential future storage building. And that's for the hurdles and all those sort of things, storage things right there.
So again, just to summarize, the main change is that the concessions and the bathrooms are now over here. Just
Correct.
to consolidate things.
Correct.
For the savings and efficiencies of the build. And
Exactly. Yep.
so those are all the stands then? that's,
Yeah, so that sort of grayer piece under there, that is landscape rock. So there's actually a fence as you walk under there. We did try to, concrete was one of the things that was pretty expensive. Obviously, there's a lot of concrete with a big plaza piece like this and all the footings and foundations and everything. So we tried to trim that scope a little bit. So we did squeeze some of the walkways and things like that. And those spaces under there are where the grandstands actually come down, get a bit lower. There's a chain link fence on the inside of there to screen those areas off, so students and people just can't get underneath those areas. And instead of doing concrete in there, we just have a landscape rock in there. So there's no maintenance or anything like that to maintain, but there should be no people under there. And you can see that, I believe, in one of the images here as we kind of go through this a little bit. Yeah, we'll jump to that one, Derek. And you can actually go to the second page already. So this plan right here, this is the floor plan of the press box level and the main level of the grandstand. So the lower image there is the main level, and that is the walkway. The squares that you see there are just the breaks in the concrete as you kind of walk under there. So that is the underneath portion of the grandstand. So you can kind of see where it turns to white. That is where the fence would be, and then you kind of proceed down that. The building itself is an elevator. There's a little elevator room for that, service room for that, and then there's a little electrical room there and a little lobby for the elevator to sort of enclose that so the elevator is not open to the elements. But beyond that is where the restrooms and concession stands were. That's that top bar there. We can see those little gray boxes, those are the columns. That's where the building was previously. Now that would just sort of be an open plaza space, kind of a gathering space underneath the grandstands that would sort of butt up to the practice field side. It would look out over that area. It would actually it'll be a great spot to sort of look out and watch practice or watch discus and javelin and shot put and the other field events that will take place out in that area. And you can see that in the rendering when we get to that here too, sort of what that looks like. Go ahead.
Just one question on the top drawing.
Yeah.
The thing that looks like a door, is that a walkway, or so you can walk under the
Are you
bleachers?
talking on the bottom?
On the top one.
Yep, those are the those are the vomitories. So that's where you walk up. If you can see down in the bottom, yep, that's a ramp, that L shape. So you kind of come to the center piece, and then you can walk up either direction up into the grandstands. You can obviously enter from the ends as well.
Yeah.
Like there are stairs just on the very ends. But yeah, that's how you access the grandstands. The press box level portion, you can see the elevator and the elevator lobby up there then. That is the object off to the left side. The rest of the space, those purple spaces, honestly, those have pretty much remained unchanged from the previous version. There was a lot of discussion about those spaces and sort of what we offer up there, but to kind of provide the space that would be needed to make sure we're offering kind of top-notch service right now and being flexible enough to sort of accommodate any changes in the future and to provide accessibility and that sort of stuff up there, which we need to do, that the plan should stay relatively the same there. So the press box itself is actually very, very similar to the previous version. We've just changed a little bit of how we've dealt with the roofing and some water, some other things like that, but it's overall it's very, very similar. Spaces should all be the same.
Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but
Go ahead.
You've got windows on the back, on the west side of those upper.
There are doors on the west side, is
Okay.
it, and then the windows all face out east to the field.
Okay,
So
sure.
we currently don't show any windows on the west side. It's definitely something that could be looked at if we wanted to add them, but we didn't have that in the previous version.
Sure.
Most of it was directed towards the field side to the east.
Air conditioning is
We're planning on
potentially out, or?
Yeah, we're planning on we had air conditioning included as a alternate previously, and we're planning on reissuing that as a alternate for this bid as well. So you'll at least have the opportunity to see what that costs and make a decision at that point whether you feel like it's worth it to move forward with that or not.
The windows on the front of that open as well.
Correct.
So you get ventilation coming through
Yep.
if you need to.
Absolutely. And then honestly, there's a door in each one of those rooms too, so the doors can be open and left open as well for some cross ventilation.
That makes sense.
Okay. Moving along, the next plan. So this is the biggest change in the concept from the previous time when we reviewed it. The top plan, that is the ticket booth. That's the same as it was previously. That is just an uninsulated building. It's just a small building, kind of at the front, gateway component to sell tickets. So that hasn't changed at all. But the field house component has quite a bit. So you'll see on the left side there we have concessions, and then the women's and men's restroom. Those have all grown a bit, obviously, to accommodate some of the extra fixtures and things like that we talked about in the previous building. If you remember the last one, we actually had these components, and then we had a hallway, and we had the training room and mechanical room and some of those other components on the south side facing third. We have modified that a little bit to actually move those a little bit more centrally, and then added the locker room component onto the east side. And that allowed us to sort of skinny the building up a little bit, so our span is a little bit less, and it actually helps with the circulation around the fieldhouse building as well, to provide a little bit of relief from the track and a little bit more space there, so it'll actually circulate around the track better than it did previously. So in my opinion, that was actually a good thing that we were able to change. So the concessions, women's and men's restrooms, like I said, they've grown a little bit to sort of accommodates the extra growth. The middle piece, we have a refs locker room, coaches, and then the associated restroom and shower and that sort of stuff with that. That kind of got centrally located here right off of that vestibule. That vestibule is located intended to be centered on the field, so it kind of serves as this sort of central focal point on the field house. That's where players and everything can congregate, run out onto the field, all that sort of stuff on game days and that sort of stuff. But that's accessible there, and we had the opportunity to kind of separate the refs and coaches component, which we had together previously, so they could actually be used concurrently on game nights, that sort of stuff. The locker rooms, where it says 75, that is the home locker room, so that is accessible right off of that vestibule. The 75 indicates the number of lockers that we have in there right now. The top space, that is just a bigger open space. That's kind of more of your team gathering space. We'll have some stuff on the walls, marker boards, that sort of stuff, so we can do positional group meetings, that sort of stuff. But that's kind of the main gathering space within here. Each one of those rows, those are your lockers as you kind of go down into that space. So that's what all that is. And then the RR component is the restrooms, where we have the showers, urinals, water closets, sinks, all that sort of stuff. We do have direct connection to the training room from the home locker room, so that's that door up in the top corner. The white stuff, those are some storage cabinets, and the L is laundry, that sort of stuff. But we do have the direct connection to the training room there to serve the home locker room very, very well. But the training room itself also got relocated from that previous version, which was down on the south side, so you had to walk through the building to get to it. Moved it up over here, so it had direct access to the field side. So whether it's for track events, whether it's the visitors, that sort of stuff, they would have access to that space, better access to that space as well. And then the final component, the lockers, the 63 lockers on that side, that is your underclassmen locker, your visitor locker room, which you can see the lockers and benches in there, that has a similar restroom component, shower component, all that sort of stuff there as well.
Talked about adding the door and the coaches to the locker room.
Yes, and we will add that. We haven't got
I
it
know
put in
you
there
haven't
yet, but we
updated
will.
yet.
Yep.
And then moving over to the left, adding an exit door, exterior door from the janitorial.
All the way over. Yep.
Yeah, there.
So actually flipping that storage and janitorial space, and then the janitorial space would actually be accessible from the outside. So we can, obviously you store stuff in there to clean the plaza, sort of everything out there in the plaza and grandstands area.
Do we need a door into mechanical electrical from the exterior?
So we could. The current plan right now is that that side is actually outside of the boundaries of the fence. But if that was desired to sort of approach from that standpoint, it is possible. You will see in the renderings here in a minute, though, that we do currently have that shown as a big sort of signage wall, and that door would kind of fall right in the middle of that. It is plausible, but it'll sort of interrupt that sort of billboard wall if we do it. Okay.
This is more of a
Go
question
ahead.
for down the road, but
Yeah.
somebody mentioned to me that, especially in that home locker room, with, the lockers are designed to be nice and large.
Correct.
But they had seen in one of those facilities where a small section of that locker was a section that locked. So people put their valuables in there,
Yes.
they were locked,
Yes.
and it prevents a lot of problems.
And that'll be the intent with the lockers that we are thinking are going to go in here. They are very similar to that. They're a bigger, wider locker. You actually can sit on them. You can do a stool that kind of hangs in there that you set down and you can sit on that, but you also can sit on the front of those as well. They are wider and they usually have a rack up on top for you to put your shoulder pads and that sort of stuff on it. And up on the top portion there's a little sort of locked cabinet piece that you can put your valuables and that sort of stuff in as well. So
Thanks.
that's the intent for
You're
sure.
one step ahead of me.
Yeah.
One question I had, admittedly, scale is not my strength, so
Sure.
looking at the concessions, that obviously looks really small in comparison to everything else.
Sure.
But that's factored in for like the amount of people, time, everything like that, that it would serve
Yes.
efficiently.
It should serve efficiently.
Okay.
There is quite a bit of space, obviously, between the front and the back space.
Okay.
It is bigger than the concession space that is out there right now. However, there are two concession spaces because there's the one there's underneath the grandstands and then the south or the east building.
Okay.
So it is bigger than that. And it should be able to accommodate that, correct?
And foot
yes.
traffic is accounted for, so it's not like congesting up that area that is
Yeah,
in the plaza.
and we can look at that plaza again. Yeah, there's kind of a nice little area there, so you should be able to queue lines up in that area without really interrupting flow around the field or anything else there. So that you absolutely should be able to handle that from a queuing standpoint for sure.
And this is a very minor thing, but we will have multiple events there where the concessions are not open.
Correct.
So is there a good place to put vending machines, like for tonight's football game that's over there?
That's
We might be able to make some money by selling a lot of stuff.
That's an interesting question because we currently do not have a space plan for vending machines or anything like that. We could carve out a space or kind of make something for that, whether you wanted it to be part of the field house here or whether you wanted that to be down by the
Under the
grandstands by the elevator core or something. That's something we could definitely look at. I mean, I would assume we would want to cover that in some fashion
Probably
or
need some
screen a
type
little
of
bit so it's a little bit protected from the weather. But outside of that, I mean, it's basically just it's power. It's a pretty manageable thing.
Yeah, we just have to have it wired.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so we can kind of go through these next ones here fairly quickly, but I essentially included some elevations and sections of some of these different spaces just for you to sort of be able to see what those look like and kind of review those as you flip through this. But we'll probably just kind of move to the renderings here because I think they'll show those a little bit better. But the gist of these components here are that the design concept honestly remains very, very similar to what it looked like previously, just without the component underneath the grandstand. So next page would probably be good. Yeah, so we'll start here. This is the practice field side, looking east towards the back of the grandstands. So you can see that obviously the big gray building with the metal panel piece there, that is the elevator tower. So that's the elevator in the lobby there. The rest of the space obviously is open there. And one of the things that we did discuss and are looking into is you can see there's a couple, they look like campers, I guess, here because we didn't have food trucks in our rendering software. But the thought was that we could try to use that space underneath there to potentially bring in some food trucks or ice cream trucks or something like that, or just use them as space to set up tents and booths and that sort of stuff. If we're going to sell, Aero, Pride gear and that sort of stuff, that all can kind of be set up right under there, and it creates a nice little plaza space for that as well. So otherwise, the back side of it all is very, very similar to what it was before. The next image here, this is the gateway component of it. So this is the entrance to the grandstands. This has changed a little bit and it's been simplified. The ticket portion of the building is very, very similar. But we did have a sort of a bigger screen piece. If you remember in the previous version, we kind of had these custom perforated panels that showed, we were going to try to get images of people, arrows, kind of playing football or jumping in track or playing soccer, that sort of stuff. We have eliminated most of that just because of the cost of that stuff came back fairly prohibitive. So this has been scaled down a little bit, and basically it kind of creates this box, this frame, similar to the box that frames the Fieldhouse building, and then the elevator tower and the press box. They kind of all have the same language with this gray sort of box that frames it. And the gray would actually be the same colors that you see on the addition here. So there's a kind of a darker gray here, a little bit lighter gray and white. That same color palette actually carries through here. The similar sort of light tones and woods kind of carry through as well. But that ticket building there would be a burnished block building, so it'll be a block fairly similar to what the Fieldhouse building out at the current stadium is. That's a split face. So the burnish is basically that same block where it's just kind of been cut and it's flatter on the outside, but it's a very, very durable material, very low maintenance, very durable. So that's the intent with that, to kind of maintain some of that. And that's what was on the previous version as well. The other side has a little bit of signage on it, perforated screen, and there would actually be a gate that comes out from behind that to close this off. As you look down that too, you can kind of see, so it does ramp up a bit, and this was that sort of processional walk up to the grandstands that I was sort of talking about before. You kind of come up, you follow this, there'll be light poles kind of along the sides with banners on them, all that sort of stuff. That's all still there, kind of leading you to the grandstands and through kind of a portal at the front of the grandstands. So go to the next one, Derek, thank you. This is the underneath the grandstand sort of view looking out towards the practice field in that area. So you kind of see this will just be sort of a big gathering space, a plaza space underneath the grandstands themselves. This image is from the plaza looking back towards the field house. So you can see the on this side we have our column line, our lights, and then that processional walkway up there. The rest of this space out here is kind of that plaza space. And you can see where it says concessions on the end of the building there. There should be a whole slew of space there to kind of queue out in front of where that tent is, that sort of stuff in that area that keeps you out of the main walkway, the path of travel and flow around the track into the restrooms, honestly. This view is from the field. And as you can see here, honestly, this view has not really changed from the previous version. It looks very, very similar to what it was. The elevator tower and the press box have not really changed. We still kind of have the same color on our risers, kind of identifying wayfinding, that sort of stuff. This is all pretty much the same as it was. This picture shows that walkway underneath the grandstands. You can kind of see there at the front of that, there is a similar gateway aspect to our front entry point. So we'll have that kind of same gray box. We'll have some paneling there, some perforated paneling, whether we do some branding and that sort of stuff on those. But that'll kind of carry that same language through as you kind of enter underneath the grandstands. This was the piece, if you remember previously, was kind of covered with it had the big image of the football player with the flag, and then there was a hurdler jumping over kind of the entry and a soccer player and that sort of stuff. So most of that has been eliminated from the concept, but we still have this kind of really nice sort of portal piece as you walk under here. And this last image was to kind of show what the field house looks like from third. So we show this area lit up here. The end pieces would be the gray panel to sort of match this and match what we have going on in the press box. The central piece I think it serves as a really nice spot for some signage, and whether it says Watertown Arrows or whatever, it's just kind of light up this really nice component across there. And then we brought these ribbon windows in here, one to provide light into a lot of those spaces, so higher light, so it's not like you can walk up and sort of directly see into these spaces. They're tall, but that would get some light into the coach's office area, the locker rooms, those sort of things, and it mimicked the language that you see on the Civic Arena here. If you kind of come down here, there's this nice thin band of ribbon windows on there, so we thought it would tie nicely to kind of carry some of that same language in this building as well. I think that's it for me. questions or comments?
One kind of silly
Yeah.
question. So the construction of like the bleachers themselves, will things be able to fall through?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's an
Okay.
I-beam style system, and all of the aluminum panels and risers are solid. So no, you can't like drop. It's not like the one with all the kind of metal angles and stuff like that you can't walk under. This will have, it has kind of bigger beams, it has piers, all that, so you can circulate under it, and then it has solid risers and treads, so you
Assume
can't
so.
drop
People
stuff.
were gonna be able to walk under it.
Yep,
and
yep.
Hang out. So okay.
And just to summarize, the
Yep.
overall seating will be equal to what we currently have.
We have not changed. Yes, correct. Yes. Yep.
So it'll be 4,500 is what the facility would seat.
Correct.
Which would include the current, I would call them visitor bleachers,
Yep.
but
Yep.
the east side.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Plus quite a bit more, I would think, I would call just sort of standing room. I think you'll have a lot of people who kind of hang out in the plaza area and just kind of mill around in that area and just watch games from there. So I think you can,
Or along the fence.
or along the fence, most of the way around for sure.
Pretty exciting as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I like many different components of this. I like the press box that's done. That'll serve well for many, many years.
I agreed. Yeah,
Nice
I think it was good, good exercise to kind of go through and see what we can do to sort of trim some of the stuff. And I think the discussion led to a good solution that does kind of help us consolidate some of that stuff, but it very much keeps a similar feel and nature to the previous concept, which was, I think everyone liked.
I think some arguments could be made that this is a better version.
I agree with you in some aspects for sure.
I'm really impressed.
Good.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still learning all this. What's the plan with the suites? Like, where did those come into the plan at? Like, what will they be used for?
I think there's a variety of things they can
Okay.
be used for, but basically it was just intended to allow space for whatever those functions are, whether it's staff, whether there's sponsorship things for, whatever those things are, just so there was space accommodated in the press box to accommodate those types of things, which just are currently not possible now. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Is there?
Yeah, if we needed, if you needed extra room for coaches up there to have them, the ones that are completely designated would be the minimum that would be needed,
Yeah.
like for a Friday night game.
Yeah.
And then we would have some options with the extra space, as he said, whether it was needed for extra coaches or something like that, or if it became a part of sponsorship, like with the ads, that kind of things, where somebody could, if they were a tier 1 sponsor, they got a booth for a night or something like
Okay.
that, or it could be other types of rotations with being able to get there. I would say then the later games might be the envy of
This shows a wall.
Mm-hmm.
that.
Sure.
particular.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's one thing that it's a growing piece in a lot of stadiums, but something that's missing from a lot of, especially high school stadiums around here, is just the ability to accommodate that sort of stuff. And obviously the current one doesn't do that at all. It's much smaller. So even the other spaces obviously address a lot of those issues already, but it just provides a lot of flexibility for a variety of things going forward.
And once we kind of were set, we wouldn't really be able to expand the press box.
Correct.
So it kind of had to go with the
Yep.
bigger version to begin with.
Yep. It provides a lot of flexibility for things going forward. 10 years down, 20, 30 years down the road, when we don't really know what's going to happen there, that they can still be accommodated, because if it's not built, as part of this, it's not going to happen down the road.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll move to item 5.4.1 with some first reading of policies.
Yes, we have. Thank you. Thanks, Jason. We have two different first readings. 5.4.1 is JFCL, Student Registered Sex Offenders. There was legislation this past year with regards to schools having policies to address this should it happen. And so this is kind of a model policy for that particular instance that we have before you.
Okay. Item 5.4.2.
and that is public participation in board meetings. An update to this policy. So, per some training that the board underwent, this is our attempt to update this policy. You'll note some of the things on the second page under where it says agenda and non-agenda items. Just some guidelines for if we would have, that would be during that open forum part of the board meeting. So the individual desiring to speak must come up to the table. The board president would ask the individual to state their name, and that would be for the board minutes. The speaker would be granted up to 5 minutes to present comments to the school board. And then item D, and this would be should there be a larger group coming to discuss, the board president would ask that comments, in order to help with comments became repetitious, the school board president would actually have the discretion to shorten the time to 2 minutes per person, so that we could get everybody through. And so we would post this somewhere here, either at the table or back where the agendas are, so that folks, if they wish to address the board, we kind of have that in mind before they came up there. So that's it for the first reading of that one.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move to item 6.1 with the bills. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the bills.
Motion by Moulton,
Second.
second by Lohr. Questions, comments on any of the bills? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bills have been approved. Item 6.2.1 resignations. Welcome, Derek.
All right, thank you. Pull this up here. The green sheet, we do have one addition for resignation that came in today. So in addition to those three listed, we'll recommend approval of those resignations.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve resignations.
Motion by Lohr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rossman. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resignations have been approved. Item 6.2.2, the contract recommendations and addendums.
Within here, it's the time of the year for lane change forms to be submitted, so a lot of lane changes have been turned in for this fall, and then several different addendums or contracts that are being paid out here this month, different trainings and things like that across the district.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Rossman.
Second.
Second by Lohr. Questions, comments? Hearing none.
What's
Oh.
the end date for requesting a lane change?
That can happen up through the end of January for the current school year, and we prorate the salary based on when it was submitted. And then after January, I think they have to wait until the next school year to submit those
Okay.
for a pay raise.
And then night school, does that meet every night?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe.
Tuesdays and Thursdays? Off campus, correct?
Correct, that's over at the
The old setting?
yeah, the PDC.
We have our motion and our second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Move to item 6.3.1.
Okay, here you see Jason presented the phase 2. You have in your packet the timeline. So today, September 11th, would be requesting authority to seek bids on phase 2. And you can see the other kind of increments there with bids due on October 26th and then for consideration at the November 13th board meeting. So that some of those longer lead time items can get ordered. Like the switchgear, I believe, is the one that's 14 months out. Or
Some of the electrical components, yeah, switchgear is one of those that are about a year out now for a lot of that stuff, so.
and then construction breaks ground, obviously April 1st or thaw, spring thaw. with a substantial completion of June 27th, 2025.
I was hoping for a few months, but I guess that'll have to do. Okay. All right, item 6.3.1, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Iverson.
Second.
Second by Moulton. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's been approved. Thanks again for all the hard work that's gone into that. Appreciate it. 6.3.2, supplemental budget.
Yeah, we have the supplemental budget for fiscal year 2024. This is an increase to the budget by $839,705 across all operating funds. In the general fund operation, $96,000 is in support of state grants and offsetting expenditures. We have $10,000 for contributions in relation to Aero TV, and the remaining $237,810 is to support the health insurance plan by increasing the premium by an additional $55 per month per employee. Special education is impacted by $90,145 to offset the increased premium cost, as well as K-12 nutrition services in the amount of $9,235. In the Lake area operation, $199,840 is in support of the federal South Dakota Manufacturing Supply Chain Assistance Grant, with an additional $1,882,000 to increase use of cash on hand. $139,000 is in support of the health insurance increase, a decrease seen in the professional fixed pilot program due to the shifting of federal funds, as well as an increase to support the equipment purchases under corporate education, in salary and benefits related to a campus coordinator position in the amount of $56,840. LATC enterprise funds increasing by $16,880 to offset increased premium costs. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the supplemental budget?
I move we approve the supplemental budget as presented.
Motion by Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions or comments for Heidi? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Item 6.4, second reading.
Yeah, we had no comments. This was put out there from our first reading, so we have no changes to that policy. So recommended for your approval, the update to facility rental and usage charges.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the facility rental and usage charges.
Motion by Lohr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rossman. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is approved. Move to item 6.5.1 with the open enrollment request. Is there a motion to approve?
We have two for your approval there.
I'll make a motion to approve the open enrollments.
Motion by Lohr.
Second.
Second by Rossman. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has been approved. Move to the 13-2010. Doesn't look like we have any there. No. Okay, we'll turn it over to you, Dr. Danison.
Okay, I'd like to make one announcement outside of homecoming. This past August, our middle school was named a middle level school of distinction by the National Association of Middle Level Educators. So Dr. Briss is in the house. Congratulations to Dr. Briss, Mr. Johnson, and the middle school staff and students over there. Good job.
Well done.
Did you get your prize money yet?
Check it in the mail.
Yeah. And then homecoming this week, Aero Days, tonight at 7:30 in the Civic Arena will be the Legend. And then Thursday night is the Caravan of Vans at 6, Powder Puff Football at 7, followed by the burning of the W out at the Watertown Stadium. And then on Friday we have the homecoming parade, 2 o'clock. So that's a 1:30 dismissal and 2 o'clock parade. The Arrowhead tailgate, don't forget to stop and eat at the Arrowhead tailgate at 5 o'clock, with the homecoming game finally at 7 on Friday night, and concludes with the homecoming dance for high school students, 9:30 to 11:30. And then we will Aero Days will conclude there before midnight on Friday. And then just another plug for Arrowhead, but if you're interested, Harvest is Saturday, October 14th. So you can probably stop and get more info at the tailgate on Friday if you're interested in a ticket.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Is there anyone that would like to comment or report to the superintendent on item 7.2? Okay, then we will seek an adjournment, please.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Moulton, second by Iverson. Questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
We have an